excited to welcome back to Venn's Quop the wonderful, talented, and all round lovely Dhorin Fireheart. Hello, welcome back.
Hi, Ben. Thank you so much for having me again. I'm super honored to be on this show again. Really, thank you so much.
Oh, well, no, my absolute pleasure to have you back on. With, of course, the face paint and loveliness happening,
Absolutely, absolutely. We have to, I mean, I have to be consistent.
right? It's consistent. And I remember this huge collection of, is it like CDs, records, books behind you? Mixture?
Yeah, CDs actually.
Love it.
It's over 1,500 CDs I
No
have
way.
behind me. Yeah.
That is
Mm-hmm.
quite the collection. That's amazing. So we last spoke. I think it was. So it must have been December last year. When
Yeah.
we got in touch with each other. So how has life been since December? I feel like there's been lots of changes, and although we've been stuck still in many ways, I think there's also been a lot to kind of go
Yeah.
through. And yeah, how have you been? What's been happening?
Oh my God. Well, I mean, it's been quite a special, semester for me because, there's the promise of, taking the vaccine and everything. So that has, somehow, like shaking up the populace here in Sweden a little bit too much. But, one has got to keep, how do you say, one keeps more positive, like rather than like when it began. So it feels definitely more better in that sense. And I also I've been working a lot with my music and like studying as well. Been finishing up a lot of strands that I had left from my studying law. So now it feels like that I'm actually like nearing the finish line, but also
Well done.
working hard on music. Yeah.
So what? So you're studying law as well.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
What
Mm.
is it a particular type, or what's the
Well,
plan
it,
with that?
my dream is actually to go into, like copyright law, to be able to help, artists and musicians, to, take care of their own rights because, like copyright law, especially here in Sweden, is very old fashioned and it's not very, like uh, I mean, there's a lot of, for example, like copying each other, especially if you see, our mini Eurovision Song Contest Melodifestivalen, where they basically, like copy everyone, left and right, and you see that there's no like regulation, like a lot of indie artists could get, like how do you say, attacked, from all of these, like bigger companies
Right.
and all of that. So yeah,
Oh,
that's what I would like to do. If I have, like a law career, but we'll
yeah.
see.
Oh, amazing. Well, I mean, that sounds like a really interesting and important important field to musicians anyway, for sure. Because yeah, it's like it for me. I'm sure lots of independent artists feel the same, but that side of it, the business side of it, always confuses me. And even when I think I understand some element of it, and then I'm like, oh wait a minute, I don't really actually know what that
Mm,
means. And I feel
exactly.
like I'm continually behind the what I need to know.
There's a lot of like contracts going around, and there's a lot of signing over here. Like you're signing your rights here, and you don't know what it all means, and
Yeah.
I, I want to see how I can make sense of all that mess.
Well, I'm sure you're the person to do it. I'm sure. And so you've had time also to Do more music making, focus on your music. What projects have you been working on during this last 6 months, I guess?
Well, sorry, what did you say?
So what projects have you been working on in this last 6 months, music
Oh,
wise?
well, I've been, I've been doing a lot of, like soul searching, especially into, like older Icelandic Viking stories, because I had actually started reading, I mean, read, like the basic, like Norse mythology book, which is called the Edda, and that one was sort of like the basis for my first songs. But now I've sort of like branched out towards like the people and the Icelandic sagas and everything, and I've taken so much inspiration from that. And I've been listening to a lot of like 90s dance music as well, and I've been trying to sort of like incorporate that into my music as well. And I've been working for and I've also been working trying my hand at remixing, um, most with Ripley, and also
Yeah.
with a certain artist called Venn Smith.
Who could that be? Who's that? Who's
Yeah,
that mysterious artist?
exactly.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I've had what an amazing pleasure to have you on the remix. Let's chat about your remix of Ripley first of all, and then
Oh,
I'd love to ask you questions about my remix as well. But yeah, how did it come about with Ripley, and what did you uh, yeah, what was your kind of process of working with Ripley's music?
oh my God. Well, so there was, I think it was like in November or something, and then out of the blue, I got this message from Ripley, and I was so honored because she wrote that you know uh, I would love to do a remix swap with you. Let me remix one of your songs and you remix one of mine. And I was, really, really afraid to do it because I was kind of like, oh, this is your baby. I don't want to, like destroy destroy it, or like defile it or something. So it's kind of like super afraid. But so we started, chatting a bit, over which song it was gonna be. Um, and she said that the the song that I could do was "How Do You Sleep at Night," which is one of my fav songs of her like EP, which is really really amazing.
Yeah,
So I was absolutely charmed to be able to do that song, because it is also like very closely linked to my own music. It's very dancey and it's very like yeah, it's very good.
yeah.
So I got the like um uh the files, the song files and everything, and I was kind of like, oh my god, how am I going to do this, like I sat there on my computer, like luckily all the files like were like neatly compiled, and like there was the chorus and there was everything, like all of the vocals, and I was kind of like, oh, this is actually quite, it's kind of like what I do myself with my own music. It's just compile like this piece of the puzzle, um and but without my voice, there's not me like singing on top of the track. So I had a lot of like freedom to sort of like rearrange the song and make it into something that I would love, but that is also like true to Ripley's own music.
Hmm.
So yeah, and Ripley remixed my own song, "Veered the Power of Heartbreaks," and
Yeah,
that and that remix, she told me was a lot inspired by like 90s, like very dreamy, like breakbeats and like everything, and I was kind of like, oh my god, this is gonna be so amazing.
uh, I love it. I love the idea of a a remix swap as well. I think that's a really clever clever way
Yeah,
of going about it. That's really nice.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you know, it kind of like
Yeah,
the
and
remixes extend the songs, and also they can kind of help introduce, I guess, your fans to someone else, you know, and vice versa as well. Like it's such a useful
absolutely.
tool as well as just being a fun thing to do.
Definitely, definitely. I think it really helps you. I mean, helps you learn more about, like how others create and how others, like arrange their own music, and it also, like helps build more of a sense of community because there's kind of like, if I release my, this remix from Ripley, like some of the people that listen to my music are going to be like, oh, who's Ripley, like, and then press on Spotify and they see on, like all of the music and then the remix EP, and like, oh, there's all of these other artists that I can listen to, and yeah, it's all super beautiful how it can be organic in that
Mm.
sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and like you said, so I've had the you know the real joy and pleasure of having you work on my song as well, which has been great, and like and I've so this is like the final kind of remix of that EP, and it was so nice to kind of just see how four different artists completely put their own spin on my music, and I feel like yours in particular is kind of like if you like really like taken it in a different direction and like added new elements into it as well with like the poetry that's in it. I'd love you just to tell me a little bit about how that process was for you and what you kind of what you were thinking.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I felt, a lot more confident working on your remix because I had learned a lot, just by working with Ripley's remix. So I could use, like everything that I had learned, working with yours. And I was, like listening because I usually, just take some, like cue points in my head when I try to create something. So I listen to your song, like over and over again, just to get it in my DNA, in my blood and everything. And then I was kind of like, okay, I'm ready. And so I got all of your files, and I have to say, I was like, wow, these are a lot,
That's a lot of files.
like yeah, yeah, I was totally stunned by it actually. Like there's so many arrangements, so many things, and so many, like vocals and everything. And I was kind of like, this is actually super fun, to just dig into and hear, like all of the different things that just become, into one whole.
Mm,
So I tried to, take, like the lead vocals, or some of the lead vocals, and just work with them, and then I just thought, how would this song, become even more, like touching, at least from my own point of view. And I thought that, what would happen if I would make, sort of like this very, like sort of like progressive but kind of like dreamy, sort of like Euro dancey vibe, to this song, but added some, like Swedish poetry on top of it, because I was very touched by the lyrics as well, because I think there's something so achingly beautiful in how you sing about sort of like recapturing, and sort of like picking oneself up from, like completely destroying oneself, or at least how I, you know interpret it, and sort of like getting, like doing this change, and starting anew. And that that change is sometimes very painful,
mm,
but it is necessary, and it makes us stronger, which is why I chose the to read. At first I thought I was gonna do, like a Viking poem, because there's so many, like different poems. But I thought that, but there's not many, like, I mean, maybe they thought about change during, like the Viking eras and everything, but like perhaps it was, like a different type of change. So I was, researching like mad, different Viking skalds and Icelandic medieval poets, and there was nothing that I found that could possibly fit into the song. But then I just, there was sort of like a light inside of me that was kind of like, you can use Karin Boyes poem när knoppar brister, or When Buds Bloom, if you try to translate it, which is a very famous poem, and it's from, like this supposedly queer Swedish poem from no Swedish poet from the 1940s, and her poems are used a lot in, for example, like Swedish graduation ceremonies, or like different stuff like that. But for me, it's because the poem clearly is more about, like the different struggles one has, like inside of you, and the the hurt that goes through, like this change, which is why, like when buds bloom, it hurts,
Yeah.
so that's why I wanted to include it in the song, Build This House Again, because it feels like it's this really painful change that sort of reflects on the poem as well.
Hmm.
which is why which is why I really really wanted to, just include some parts of it on the song as well. Yes.
That's amazing. Like, and like, I really, it's so lovely to kind of hear that thought process as well that you had, and like the thought you're kind of researching things, and like it's um it's funny because that's this song. Um, it's also really interesting to hear your interpretation of like what the lyrics are about, and like it absolutely is that. And I think it's this song has actually been with me for like years. Like
Mm,
it's like it was the oldest kind of song that like on the EP. Like it was, yeah, I wrote this, or a version of this. I wrote this like, gosh, I don't even know, like maybe like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, like at the start of that song. And like it's gone through loads of different variations. I can't even kind of like remember all the different types of it that I've had. And there has been like other recordings, or and I used to do it as a live song, and then it became something that I did with like loops. And then in the studio, then working with this producer, we actually had like really in-depth conversations about this song. But it became like one of the more kind of like poppy, like, dance floor kind of numbers. But actually, there was a lot of thought behind the lyrics about what I was trying to get across. And then I love that then there's now this next reiteration of it that kind of brings in this other element as well. Um,
yeah.
I think it's weird. And it's weird. Like it's kind of like it's almost like the song is just doing its own thing. Like I'm not really like in charge of it anymore. I'm just like, oh, cool, okay, it's doing this now. Lovely.
I think that that is also what you do so well with the song, is that the lyrics are just very, like efficient. Well, maybe it sounds too hard to say efficient, but it's very how do you say, impactful imagery when
Mm,
you hear it, and you see these different memories that you live through, with your song, and that's why I felt, like such a strong connection to it when I created it. It felt really good. It felt actually, it didn't feel like, just working on another's song. It felt really like working on one of my own songs.
mm.
So yeah, that's
Ah,
how great it feels, really.
yeah. Well, no, I really, really appreciate it, and yeah, so excited to get it out there. And then that's it. As I say, it's kind of it's over to the world to experience and have its own experience with it. So that's
Definitely.
the fun part, right? And yeah, but I love that, and I love that sense in music as well. That is, there doesn't have to be one final product of a song and one perfect version of it, and like someone else can do something with it, and you can change it and add to it, and it's a bit more fluid. Everything needs to be a bit more fluid in life in general, I feel.
And I thought that remix culture was on its way to die, like a few years ago, because so little, like mainstream pop
Yeah.
musicians, they stopped, like doing them, like at all.
Mm.
Perhaps like one strange EDM remix from one big, like EDM musician, but that's that. But no remixes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
so
that's
that's why I'm
true.
happy that it's starting, like to flourish
Yeah, no,
even
it's
more.
really
And
true actually.
like even now, pop,
Yeah,
mm,
it's starting to
a lot of
come
like
back.
pop music now, yeah, they're releasing their how do you say, how do you say, different, alternate versions of the
Hmm.
album, like a remix album. Like Lady Gaga has this like Chromatica remix album that's coming, and like, and also I'm glad that indie musicians, such as ourselves, are using that, to build the community, to like tie bonds, and I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, I really agree as well, and I think um, in this last year as well, when these connections have been made in this kind of virtual world,
Mm,
but kind of more like maybe perhaps more globally than they might have done before. Like I think it's kind of just like sprung up all these remixes and collaborations that possibly never ever would have happened without what we've gone through this last year. So yeah, it's cool.
one of the positives of the pandemic, I
Yeah,
guess.
exactly. Gotta find those silver linings wherever they land, I think. um, and
Absolutely.
yeah, and so have you been able to, because you're a DJ as well, have you been able to go out and do any live stuff yet, or is that still on hold?
Not at all. Not at all. I had this one gig in like September or October. I don't really remember. It was in one of my, like favorite indie clubs in Stockholm. But like it was a very sour um, gig that I did, because no one was allowed to go up and dance. So
Right.
I had to play stuff, like at a reasonable BPM, so that people wouldn't
Wouldn't.
jump up.
Oh, that's hard to do. Yeah, that's not
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. I felt really sad, when I was DJing there, because like I had people come up to me, like being like, could you please play this sing along song, so that we can at least sing along and not dance. And I was gonna like, oh,
Mm.
okay, yeah, perhaps. I don't know. Well, the like the security guard is staring at you, like
Yeah,
with is gonna
daggers in the eyes.
yeah. But yeah, I otherwise, other than that, there hasn't been any like gigs for me. I'm starting to get some jobs, perhaps, where I don't really know, how the pandemic is going to evolve. But like in October, perhaps I'm going to do something,
Okay.
but it's not set in stone really. So we're
Yeah.
gonna you're still hoping.
Yeah, I know. I feel like we're quite used to that now. Kind of like things are never really set in stone now, so it's kind of like it it will be if it is whatever it will be. Yeah, but more.
Definitely. And you also had this live show that you were going to do in.
Oh yeah, well yeah, that never became anything. That was back, yeah, back in like the start of this year, there was like a show that kept kept getting having to get rebooked. Eventually, I just actually I was like, do you know what? I said no. I think it was like the fourth time that it was going to get rebooked, and I was like, actually, I think it's not the time for it. And do you know, actually, but I had like a. I was just telling you before we were chatting, like luckily I was able to go to this like amazing queer festival this weekend, just gone. Um, I went very much last minute, so it was all like outdoors stuff, so it was able to happen, which was amazing. And it
Mm.
was sort of very like holistic and yoga and gorgeous things. But then there was also live music, and I there was like an open mic spot, so I actually got to perform. And I was as I was sitting there, um, I just before I went on, I was like, I realized this was the first
Oh my
gig
God.
I'd done of any of this music that I'd released as Venn Smyth. And then I was like, oh, okay. So I got kind of was a bit like, oh, this is actually quite like a funny moment. Um, and like, I hadn't practiced. Like, it was very like, oh, like rusty, but it was like very authentic. Okay, I'm going to play you this song that I released and never managed to do any gigs to. But what a lovely, a lovely queer crowd in a forest to play it to. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was kind of like
It's
ideal in that sense. But
which song did you perform?
I played "Burn Me," just that
Oh,
on yeah, an acoustic guitar. So yeah, so yeah, it was nice, and it was just funny. Like I kind of like had this flashback of then like last year, like releasing that track and be it coming out as like Venn Smith, and
yeah.
like this is my music, and then that was just yeah, when the pandemic happened, and then I was like, um, so gigs, any ideas of gigs and all that kind of stuff went out the window. But I was just like, oh my god, I can't believe I've never actually played any of these songs live.
Yeah.
It was a weird moment, but like kind of lovely as well. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, they exist in the internet currently.
Yeah. I'm hoping that you get to perform them though.
Well, and you as well. Like I think there will be. I've said this so many times now over the last year, but it's got. I'm manifesting it into the world. There is going to be some sort of amazing queer indie gig at some point.
Awesome.
We're going to make it happen. And so, but speaking of your music as well, also congratulations on your latest single, which I absolutely love, and I love your saying about your sort of more like '90s influences. I can definitely see in there as well. I also love the artwork for this single as well. Ah, so good. Tell us all about it.
Oh yes. The creation of this song, I mean, it's a bit silly, isn't it? How one can make, like the most, like perhaps most trivial things into music. And this and the sort of like inspiration behind, like making this song was a a conversation that I had with a stranger on, like Grinder.
Hmm.
But
I am
um
familiar. Yeah.
exactly. But I sort of felt, like why why did I feel that intensity, just from like writing with someone that I perhaps didn't even know, like all of the yeah, I had like this overload of like information from this Olaf guy, which is also, like the name of the song. And I was kind of like, I was a bit conflicted, like why, you know, people take online conversations, not so seriously. They're like, oh, like it's not in real life, so like there's really not any emotions tied to that. You can just forget, erase, start a new conversation with someone else. And I thought that no, like words can mean so much as well. It's kind of like with this, like indie community that we've been having, like online over these past, like months. And for me, like those interactions with all of those other artists have meant so much for me. Just for keeping myself, like my mental health sane and everything. And I thought that why can't why should no why shouldn't I write something about just this specific conversation, because it had I mean, if you would translate that conversation into real life, then it would have like all of the highs and lows of like a comedy or a drama movie or something. I don't know. So I tried to take that, but also like add some humor into it, because the song is very humorous as well.
Yeah.
It's very uh, like the silliness of of things, of this like internet dating, of trying to feel in an age where like feeling over internet and dating apps is not taken very seriously. So I tried to sort of like maximize it as much as possible, and do the production as the music as well as positive and as fun as well, because I had a lot of fun writing it. It was there was no sadness. Usually my songs are very very sad, but there's like something dragging yourself up towards the end. But here's like, oh, this was a sorry experience, but it's it's fun. It's fun. It's not something bad about it. And if this guy Olaf hears it, like, oh, they made a song about me, or I don't know.
Do you think he will
And
hear it?
oh, I don't know really. I'm at this point, I'm even conflicted if he even was like a the one that he like told appeared in chatting, because like he showed me images of himself, and he had this uh, really amazing like music taste. There's not much, no, not many people with good music taste out on dating apps. Sorry. But but this guy,
Don't tell the truth.
he was exactly. Yeah, so it's kind of like, finally I'm not a weirdo with my own music taste. Finally, I can be a weirdo with someone else, or something, with my music taste. But it never came true. So yeah, why not why not write a song about it and be successful with it? Just kidding, by the way.
Well, you never know. You never know. No,
Exactly.
but it's great. I love that inspiration in all interactions. I think it's really great. Great to see. And what is next in the pipeline? Have you got anything
Ooh,
else lined up?
well, besides the Van Smith remix,
Coming out 16th of July, which is
oh,
also I never told you it's my mum's birthday that day as well. So it's a very wonderful, wonderful date in the diary.
double, triple celebrations it's
Yes,
going to
exactly.
be. Um, well, let's see. Otherwise, I have a new song that I just got from one of my one of the producers that I work with, and it's sounding really 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 good. But now I'm just trying to come up with like the concept around it, like the artwork and the everything that needs to be planned. Otherwise, I'm just really hoping for for some collabs that I've done to come out as well, that are also like in this limbo.
Yeah, limbo stage. I know that. I know that stage.
Definitely, you're just like waiting and biding your time,
Yeah.
creating. But otherwise, yeah, I'm just gonna keep on creating, keep on writing as much music as possible, because I really want to you know uh, better myself, and I really want to also as well find new, how do you say, new points in my own music and try to, you know, change it up, or see what needs to be done, to just keep on, uh, how do you say, evolving.
Mm, yes, evolving, evolving. That's it. Like I was saying, either, artists are evolving, the music's evolving.
Definitely.
Change. It's all change. It's true though. It's very true. I think we sometimes get stuck in finding the perfect moment or the perfect song
Absolutely.
or the perfect version of what we're supposed to present as an artist. And like actually, at any point, someone may discover your music and think it's about something completely different to what you think it's about, and they may decide, it fits with whatever it fits with. And like, yeah, that's what's great
Exactly.
about it. There's not one thing it can be. So
Definitely. And it's actually those interpretations that are, like really meaningful as well, because that's when the song, starts getting its own life,
yeah.
like when it starts living amongst others. And I once remember, like, for the release of my song Brigging Code,
Mm-hmm.
there was this guy that wrote to me on the internet, who was kind of like, oh, is this song about separation, is this song about, you know and I was kind of, I didn't want to say, like, no, it's not, like, be like that. I was kind of like, so I wrote to him, I'm really happy that you saw that the song is about that, and about, because there's certain elements about, like longing and separation and everything, but it's not really, like what I was thinking about when I wrote it. But
Mm,
I'm super happy that the song got its own shape in that person's mind and heart, which is super valuable. It's kind of like what they say, about, like death of the author, like when the author has published a book, it, the author kind of like dies. So any sort of like commentary around the book and what the book is about is for the reader
mhm.
themselves to um,
Yeah.
interpret.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. So yeah, always fascinates me. I think that element of art and kind of creativity. And who's it really for? And actually, it is for everybody, but like in different ways. Um, and it's just cool. Music's great. Music is
Yeah,
cool. It's
music,
lovely.
bro. Yeah.
It's just good. That's why it's why we put up with all the rubbish bits of it.
Yeah, absolutely. The constant uh, imposter syndrome, and the like, should I really do this, or
Yeah.
like,
Is anyone going to listen? Yeah, absolutely. So it's all
exactly.
there. Oh, well, Dhorin Fireheart, absolute pleasure to have you on again. I feel like it's like a second chat. I feel like we got deeper into the songs this time, which was quite nice. You know, taking down those layers is nice. And so, next time you come on, it'll be a full therapy session for us both. It'll be lovely.
Absolutely. I'll hold you to
Yeah, yeah, great, okay. And yeah, thank you for my remix. I'm very excited to get that out in the world. And also congratulations on your latest track, Olaf, as well. And very excited for all the new things to come as well. And
I'm very
once you are a lawyer, you can come sort out my copyright situation because I have no idea what's going on. So
absolutely, absolutely.
you booked for that gig.
At least one.
Yeah.
Woo!
Oh no, we'll get you a few, I'm sure. All right. Well, thank you so much. Take care. And here's to a summer of music releases and fun times.
Absolutely. Thank you, and you as well.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.